The air in the abandoned subway tunnels always had a certain quality to it. Not just the damp, metallic tang of stale water and forgotten steel, but something else. A quiet hum that vibrated deep in your chest, a low thrumming resonance that spoke of forgotten histories and untold secrets. My name is Alex, and for the better part of a decade, exploring these forgotten arteries beneath the city was my life. Urban exploration, they called it. For me, it was more than just a hobby, it was an obsession, a relentless pursuit of the hidden, the forgotten, the places the city had tried to erase. My partner Liam shared that same hunger. He was the meticulous one, always double-checking our gear, mapping out routes, ensuring our exit strategies were solid. I was the one who pushed the boundaries, who saw a boarded-up entrance and immediately wondered what lay beyond. Together, we were a formidable team, having navigated countless forgotten factories, derelict hospitals, and even a few rumored Cold War bunkers. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared us for what we found beneath the old Kingston Line. The Kingston Line had been decommissioned in the late 70s, a victim of shifting demographics and budget cuts. Rumors persisted for years about a maintenance spur, a forgotten section that had fallen off the city's blueprints, sealed away and left to decay. Most explorers dismissed it as an urban legend, a romanticized notion for beginners. But Liam, with his uncanny ability to dig up obscure historical documents, found a faint, almost erased notation on a faded city planning map from 1968. It indicated a short, unrecorded branch line, leading to what was simply labeled Storage Area B. That was all we needed. A flicker of possibility, a whisper of the unknown. Our first few excursions into the Kingston Line were uneventful, a familiar dance of echoing footsteps, the beam of our headlamps cutting through the absolute darkness, revealing graffiti-scarred walls and rusted tracks. We followed the main line for what felt like miles, the air growing heavier, colder, the silence more profound. Then, on our third trip, Liam spotted it. A section of the tunnel where the familiar concrete walls gave way to rough-hewn rock, a clear indication of an older, hand-dug passage. And there, almost perfectly camouflaged by decades of grime and shadow, was a heavy steel door, its hinges fused with rust, but undeniably present. It wasn't on any map. It wasn't supposed to be there. Our pulses quickened. This was it. It took us 2 more trips and a significant amount of specialized cutting tools to finally breach the door. The moment it groaned open, a gust of air, thick and strangely sweet, wafted out. It smelled of damp earth, something organic, and a faint, almost imperceptible metallic tang like old blood. Beyond the door, the tunnel narrowed significantly, the ceiling much lower, forcing us to stoop. The air was even colder here, the silence absolute, broken only by the drip-drip of unseen water. We moved cautiously, our headlamps dancing across the rough-hewn walls, revealing a series of rough-cut alcoves, each one empty. It went on like this for what felt like an eternity, a winding, claustrophobic passage that seemed to lead nowhere. Doubt began to creep in. Had we just wasted weeks of effort for an empty storage room? Then the tunnel opened up, not into a grand cavern, but into a wider, more irregular space, approximately circular, about 50 feet in diameter. The ceiling here was higher, supported by natural rock pillars. And in the center of this space, bathed in the feeble glow of our headlamps, was what we later came to call the nest. It was a sprawling, organic structure, unlike anything I had ever seen. It wasn't built, it had grown. Made of what appeared to be tightly woven fibers, dark and slick, it pulsed with a faint, internal luminescence, a soft, greenish glow that seemed to emanate from within its very core. It rose from the floor in a series of convoluted layers, like a monstrous, petrified beehive, reaching almost to the ceiling. There were openings, orifices in its surface, dark and gaping, that seemed to breathe. A low, rhythmic thrumming, far more distinct here, resonated through the rock, a sound that felt more felt than heard. We stood frozen, our headlamps fixed on the grotesque beauty of it. Fear, cold and sharp, pricked at the edges of my consciousness, but it was overshadowed by a profound sense of awe, of discovery. This was something truly alien, truly unknown. We slowly, carefully, circled the perimeter of the chamber, our eyes trying to decipher the impossible architecture of the nest. The air here was even sweeter, almost cloying, and the metallic tang was stronger, a coppery taste on my tongue. As we moved, we noticed something else. Scattered around the base of the nest, partially obscured by its lower tendrils, were objects, human objects, old tools, rusted machinery parts, tattered remnants of clothing. And then, unmistakably, a human skull, bleached white, nestled among the organic fibers. My breath hitched. Liam let out a low whistle. This wasn't just an abandoned structure. This was something else entirely. We spent hours in that chamber, captivated, terrified, trying to understand what we were seeing. We didn't dare touch the nest, a primal instinct warning us away. We took photos, careful not to disturb anything, documenting every detail. The thrumming intensified occasionally, a low growl that made the ground beneath our feet tremble slightly. The greenish light within the nest brightened and dimmed like a slow, deliberate heartbeat. It felt alive, it felt aware. As the hours wore on, a strange lethargy began to set in. My thoughts grew fuzzy, my movements sluggish. Liam, usually so sharp, seemed equally affected, his eyes wide and unfocused. We knew we needed to leave, but something rooted us to the spot, a morbid fascination, a perverse desire to simply observe. It was then that we heard it. A faint, high-pitched scratching coming from one of the dark orifices in the nest. It was rhythmic, deliberate, like claws on stone. The thrumming intensified, and the greenish light pulsed brighter, illuminating the chamber in an eerie, sickly glow. Panic, cold and visceral, finally broke through the stupor. "We need to go," I whispered, my voice hoarse. Liam nodded, his face pale. We turned, scrambling back towards the narrow passage, our headlamps bouncing wildly. The scratching intensified behind us, joined by a soft, wet, slithering sound. We didn't look back, we just ran. The narrow tunnel, once claustrophobic, now felt like a desperate escape route. We pushed through, our lungs burning, the sounds of whatever was behind us seeming to echo in the confined space. When we finally burst through the steel door, back into the wider, familiar Kingston Line tunnel, we slammed it shut with a desperate clang, the sound echoing hollowly. We didn't bother trying to secure it. We just ran, our legs aching, our hearts pounding, not stopping until we reached the surface, gasping for air in the cool night. We didn't speak much on the way home, the silence in the car heavy with unspoken terror. We had found something truly extraordinary, something that defied explanation, something that had instilled a terror far deeper than any abandoned building ever had. The next few days were a blur of restless sleep and unsettling dreams. The image of the nest, its pulsating green light, the scratching sounds replayed endlessly in my mind. We both felt changed. A subtle shift, a lingering sense of unease that clung to us like the damp chill of the tunnels. We tried to rationalize it, to dismiss it as a hallucination brought on by fatigue and claustrophobia, but the photos on Liam's camera told a different story. The nest was real. And then, the rules started to emerge. Not written rules, not spoken rules, but a creeping, insidious understanding that forced its way into our minds. The first rule was simple. Do not speak of the nest to anyone outside of ourselves. This wasn't a conscious decision, but an overwhelming compulsion. The words would form on my tongue, ready to spill, and then a sudden, paralyzing fear would clamp down, a certainty that speaking its name to an outsider would have dire consequences. It was a self-imposed silence, but one that felt enforced by an unseen hand. The second rule became apparent a few days later. Do not attempt to revisit the nest. The thought of returning, once a burning curiosity, now filled me with a profound dread. The idea of going back, of seeing its pulsating form, of hearing those sounds again, triggered a primal, instinctual revulsion. It was as if a part of my mind had been rewired, a protective barrier erected against any return. The third rule was more subtle, more insidious. You will find yourself drawn to darkness, to silence, to the forgotten places of the city. After our encounter, the bustling streets, the vibrant noise of everyday life, felt jarring, almost aggressive. I found myself instinctively seeking out quiet corners, abandoned parks, the hushed aisles of old libraries. The familiar pull of urban exploration, once an exciting thrill, now felt like a grim obligation, a subconscious directive. It wasn't that I wanted to go back into the dark places, but rather that the bright places now felt wrong, alien. The fourth rule was the one that truly began to unravel us. You will feel a constant, low-level hunger, a craving for something indefinable, something that gnaws at the edges of your awareness. It wasn't hunger for food or water or sleep. It was a deeper, more primal yearning, a persistent emptiness that no amount of sustenance could fill. It was a hunger for the unknown, for the darkness, for the secrets of the forgotten places, and it was insatiable. The fifth rule, and perhaps the most terrifying, revealed itself slowly, subtly, over the course of weeks. You will feel an increasing detachment from the world, a growing sense of isolation, as if you are slowly becoming something else. Conversations felt distant, emotions muted. The faces of friends, family, once familiar and comforting, now seemed like masks. It was as if a part of my soul remained in that echoing chamber, entangled with the fibers of the nest, slowly being drawn away from the light. Liam described similar sensations, a creeping numbness, a sense of being an observer rather than a participant in his own life. We found ourselves spending more and more time together, drawn to each other by this shared, unspoken burden. We were the only ones who understood, the only ones who could acknowledge the impossible truth of what we had encountered. We spoke of the nest in hushed tones, dissecting our memories, trying to find a pattern, a way to break free from the invisible chains that bound us. But there was no pattern, no escape. Weeks turned into months. The rules became less about what we couldn't do and more about what we were doing, what we were becoming. The hunger deepened. The detachment grew. The city, once a playground of hidden wonders, now felt like an oppressive cage. The only solace we found was in each other's quiet company, two souls adrift in an ocean of unspoken horror. One night, Liam called me, his voice thin, reedy. "Alex," he said, "I dreamt of it again, the nest, and this time it was calling me." He described a dream of being drawn back into the tunnel, of the steel door opening effortlessly, of the nest pulsating brighter than ever, its orifices gaping, beckoning. The dream wasn't a nightmare, it was a siren song, a profound sense of belonging, a desire to return. I recognized the feeling. I had had similar dreams, the lure of the unknown now transformed into a longing, a yearning to be enveloped by that primal darkness. This was the sixth rule, the final, terrifying realization. You will eventually return to the nest, not out of fear, but out of an overwhelming, irresistible desire. It wasn't a choice, it was an inevitable pull, a fundamental shift in our very being. We were no longer urban explorers seeking the unknown. We were something else, something that had been touched, transformed by the alien presence beneath the city. We both knew it was only a matter of time. We tried to fight it, to distract ourselves, to cling to the remnants of our old lives. But the hunger was too strong, the pull too profound. The world above ground felt increasingly artificial, a hollow echo compared to the vibrant, terrifying reality of the nest. The silence of the tunnels, once terrifying, now felt like a comforting embrace. I haven't seen Liam in 3 days. He left a note, a single sentence scrawled on a piece of paper. "It's time. I can hear it clearly now." I understand. The call is growing stronger for me too. The low thrumming resonance is no longer just in my chest, it's in my bones, in my blood. The sweet, metallic tang is always on my tongue. The darkness beckons, not with fear, but with a promise of belonging, of finally understanding the unspeakable secrets it holds. I'm writing this now, sitting in my quiet apartment. The city lights outside feeling distant, irrelevant. My bag is packed, my headlamp is charged, the old Kingston line is calling. I know what awaits me, what awaits us all, down in the echoing darkness. It's not an escape, it's a return, a final journey into the heart of the unknown, into the embrace of the nest. And as I stand up, the thrumming growing louder, I realize there was one final rule, unspoken, yet profoundly understood. Once you find the nest, you never truly leave it. If you found yourself drawn into stories like mine, stories of the hidden and the inexplicable, make sure to like and subscribe to Nightfall Tales. There are countless secrets lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed, waiting to pull you in. And who knows, maybe you'll find yourself listening for the hum too, drawn by a curiosity that can never truly be satisfied. The door to the forgotten subway station is just a few blocks away, and I can hear it calling my name.